Hello everyone, we all know what we're here for today. These! So we're really gonna dive into these new liquid silk eyeshadows and a new eyeshadow palette called FAWN from Lisa Eldridge. We're gonna be talking about the formulas, the shades. I'm gonna do swatches on my eyes for these, and I'm gonna do some comparisons as well from previous eyeshadow palette shades. And I've also done wear tests for these liquid eyeshadows, and I'll get into all of that for you today. So let's first start off with these liquid silk eyeshadows. She released 5 shades and they're all sort of neutral shades. Those shades are complementary to her existing liquid Lorix eyeshadows, which are more sparkly and metallic, and I've got 5 of the liquid Lorix eyeshadows. She has discontinued a few of the shades in my hand, but I've had these for like a couple of years, if not more. I got them when they first came out and they still perform really well, and I would have expected them to dry out and they haven't. So if you haven't tried these, I do actually recommend them. I think my first review I was like a bit meh, but actually they are really good formula, especially if you're someone who doesn't do a lot of eye makeup and just want a one and done eyeshadow. These are perfect. I wore the shade Bianca in one of my Lisa Eldridge videos and had so many comments on what I was wearing. But let's get into these liquid silk eyeshadows. So this is the packaging. You know, again, typical Lisa Eldridge packaging, gold cap, logo, name of the product on here. And then at the bottom, it tells you the shade. And it says here it's got a 6-month shelf life. But if they're anything like these, they will last longer than 6 months. Kind of the difference between the liquid Lorix and the liquid silk is this is a frosted glass, whereas this is just a normal glass there. And as usual, the outer packaging is the white gold, and this product is made in Italy as well. So kind of the unique selling point about these liquid eyeshadows is that they're meant to be soft focusing, lid smoothing, one and done eyeshadows, and she specifically says that they do not look crepey or dry on the eyelids. So the 3 key ingredients in these eyeshadows, the first one is the Lapacho bark oil. Lisa does mention this a lot in the video that she put out on her YouTube channel, and it's known as a tree of life, which is meant to promote skin firmness and is immediately smoothing. And then she's got the self-setting Chronotech in these liquid eyeshadows as well, which she says is a special time release mix of texturizing film formers, creating a transforming texture that melts on the lid before self-setting. And the spherical powder is a silky texture with a beautifully blurred matte finish. And then there's also shea butter there, which is meant to be, you know, conditioning and moisturizing. So let's get into all of these shades and then I can tell you what my wear test was like. Please don't look at my unblended contour. Oh my god, it's so embarrassing. I thought I blended out, but I didn't. Your girl's gained some weight recently and it's not as defined here, so I need help from makeup. Yes. God, so embarrassing. So already one of the shades is sold out. I can't believe that she still sells that product, because I imagine she must order more units nowadays, considering, I mean, she knows how popular her products are. But the shade that is sold out is Ione. So Ione is this cool toned mauve grey. I think this is the only cool tone. Everything else is either neutral or warm, and I wonder if that is why Ione is sold out. So that is the thick swatch on the back of my hand. And then I'll blend out. They are so easy to blend. This is a really pretty shade. I think it's looking a little bit more pink than grey on camera. Next, we've got the shade Phoebe, which is a warm light camel. And again, I'll just do a little swatch down there. So this is Phoebe, a warm light camel. Next, we got Irene. So I have tested Irene out on my eyes. I wore this yesterday. Irene is a light neutral peachy beige. And then we've got Gaia. I have worn Gaia as well. Gaia is such a pretty warm brown. I mean, look at how rich that color is. Lisa described this as a golden brown, right? It is so nice. And finally, we've got Talia. And Talia is a deep rose wood shade. So this is definitely got that pinky undertone to it. Yeah, it's got a lot more red pigment in that one. So I think this is going to be so good for those deep skin tones. Whereas on me, I think it's gonna come off quite red and maybe a little bit scary. I don't want to look like I have pink eye when I blend it out. So these are the 5 shades on the back of my hand, and I'm gonna put each shade on my eyes. So guys, by the way, I moved job recently. I mean, doctors, we rotate basically every 12 months until you're a consultant. I now work in a hospital that is an hour drive away from my home, so I get up at 6 every morning and arrive at work for 8. So I got up at 6 today to film for you guys because today is actually my non-working day. It's been difficult to try to find filming time, and I'm kind of preparing for an exam as well. But when Lisa releases new products, right, I know I still haven't done a video on the skin tint and the lip pencils, but anyway, Ioni. So this is the cool mauve grey, and what I found is I just do a little swipe like this. You don't need to go with very much product at all, and you have a little bit of playtime with it. This is my Kitco soft blender brush, and just run it all over my lid and blend it out. I'm not wearing any primer. I haven't got any concealer on my eyes. So actually that was probably a little bit too much product. Can you see? This is full of pigment. I don't think I can talk and apply makeup at the same time. I'm not made for beauty YouTube. You can see the shade here. I'm gonna do a slightly lighter application on my other eyelid because that is scary looking. Okay, so literally just the one dot. I've got a little vein there in my eyelid, so we blend it out. Just clean my brush a little bit, give this another blend. You see, so this is Ioni. A heavier swatch here, a lighter swatch here, but hopefully you can see the lovely tones of this eyeshadow. I think you can go even lighter handed, and another thing you can do is just pick up directly from the little applicator for a more controlled application. I hope you can see that it is actually really blurring. I do believe in the unique selling points of this product in terms of the lid blurring claims, and once it sets, it sets. Honestly, when I wore these, like I said, I've got a really long day. On Monday, you know, I put it on at 6:45, 7 o'clock-ish, and I got home, didn't touch my face, and at bedtime, my bedtime is now ridiculously early. I get ready for bed at 9 p.m. When I looked in the mirror, the pigment was still there. I would go and touch my eyes. Sometimes, you know, I rub my eyes, and the eyeshadow didn't come off on my fingers. And I mean, I always use an oil-based cleanser. I actually use Lisa's cleanser and it comes off really easily, but right now, which is my makeup eraser, which takes up most of my makeup, it's actually not coming off because of how long wearing this eyeshadow is. So next we've got Phoebe, and I'm gonna start really small. So I'm gonna grab the same brush, just grabbing a tiny bit from the applicator, like literally the smallest amount, and we can always build it up. So this is Phoebe, which is the warm light camel shade. So you can see just that one little bit of pigment is giving a nice wash of color all over my lid. Phoebe is basically my natural lid shade. I have hyperpigmented lids all the way here and all the way around my upper lid as well, and the shade is basically my slightly darker skin, so I really like Phoebe. Also, I stayed up late last night to wash all of my brushes so I could use them for this video, but they're not drying yet, so I'm using my Kitco brushes. I've been refraining from using my Kiko brushes because I wanted to do a video on them because I don't hear them talked about enough and they're so good. So I'm going to do Irene on my other eye, and then again let's do a little bit of a lighter application. So Irene is a light neutral peachy beige. So this is Irene and this is Phoebe, and you can see this is, you know, that camel brown shade, and this definitely has a little bit more pink red to it. It's just so easy to blend, and I feel like you can probably tell on camera, right? My lids do look kind of blurred. It's just such a good blend. These are great. These are fantastic. And if you're someone who's on the go, if you're a busy working professional and you just want something quick and subtle, because, you know, let's be mindful, let's be demure and not wear glitter to work, and these are perfect. Now let's go with Gaia, the golden brown. I just like really roughly swatched the shade during my wear test. I literally just went doop, doop, and blended out. And it was super easy, had no issues whatsoever. But today we'll just go with a little bit. So this is just beautiful, beautiful warm brown. I adore the shade. I just think the tones of it is just stunning. So let's just blend with a clean brush a little bit more. And this is the lovely golden brown of Gaia. Right? I don't know, there's something about the shade. I feel like if you have darker skin tones, great. This is going to be like a neutral everyday shade for you, right? But then for kind of lighter skin toned people like myself, there's just something about the shade, like the warmth of it is just so stunning. And I feel like if you do this all around the eye and then put on a lovely little lip, could be any color, it could be a red if you want to do red, it could be like a nude, like a kind of a skin concealer type of lip, it's gonna just look good because there's just so much depth and warmth to it, and you can just wear it with anything else. I love this one. And then finally we've got Talia, which is the deep rose wood shade. So again, just grabbing a little bit on the brush. So this is a shade that I think I'll be most scared to wear because of how much red pigment is in it. So I picked up like the littlest amount. So this is Talia comparing with Gaia. Beautiful shade as well. The tone of the shade is reminding me of one of my Pat McGrath pigments, like one of those Star Wars releases from a couple years back with a like sparkling red cranberry shade. I think if you're going to do a look with that kind of eyeshadow shade, you can use this as a base and then put a little sparkle over it. Okay, so honestly, I wasn't really going to pick up all 5 shades, but for YouTube, or I'm just using YouTube as an excuse for overconsumption, I bought all 5 shades and I love every single one of them because the formula is absolutely stunning. Obviously, like I said, there are shades that I'm probably a little bit more scared to wear. So I think, like I said, Talia and Ione, I did go quite heavy-handed, but Phoebe, definitely my favorite. Such an easy everyday shade. And Irene as well is just a little bit more red, like a little bit, you know, more red in there, which is also very pretty. I do feel like there's the whole trend, because there was that article, right, saying, is eyeshadow now an old lady thing? Well, I don't think these are gonna make you look old lady. Like I said, I think these are just gonna make you look really classy, really elegant, very demure, very mindful. Let me just show you these liquid lyrics quickly. I do have a video on my channel like very early on of these 5 shades when she first released them, but let me just swatch Bianca. Like, these have been in my cupboard, well, not my cupboard, but they've been in my collection for what, 2 years, and they still come out perfect. This is the shade Bianca, very metallic, very shiny. You can see all of these sparkles. If you haven't tried the liquid lyrics, try one with your liquid silk purchase as well. Oh, and I forgot to say, they are £26 each. So let's get into the eyeshadow palette now. Right, lovely people, the FAWN eyeshadow palette. This is what it looks like. I think at first glance, right, it's kind of like a really neutral looking palette, but then you've got the two little pops. This is a duochrome and this is a very sparkly finish. If you haven't come across the Lisa Eldridge palettes before, it's got this quite nice gold packaging. It doesn't feel too heavy. Some people have argued that it looks cheap. I don't think it's metal, I think it's plastic. I really can't tell. It's got a magnetic closure and it does come with a little plastic film for you to put on top of your eyeshadow so the mirror inside doesn't get damaged. And then you've got all of the shades at the back and the little holes for you to just put a little paper clip through to pop the shades out, because they are magnetic, so you can customize your own palette if you want. Anyway, let's just first swatch the matte shadows in this eyeshadow palette. We've got Supernaturally here in the middle, which is her seamless matte finish. If you want a deeper dive into her eyeshadow palettes, watch my eyeshadow palette video. I go through the formulas, how they feel, kind of my struggles with the application of the different formulas. So again, this is Supernaturally a seamless matte shade, and this is a beautiful soft brown. And then we've got Upper West Side, which looks quite similar to Supernaturally but is in the Velvet formula. The Velvet formula, it's difficult to grab onto with a brush in my opinion. This is Upper West Side, which is a neutral beige. You can see definitely leaning more taupe than brown on the back of my hand. You can see the faint marks of the previous swatches here. Next we've got Burnt Clove, which is another seamless matte shade. I haven't actually touched the shade yet. Oh, this is a dark black and brown that is very rich. Yeah, these are definitely neutral, leaning cool toned, which is gorgeous. And the last kind of brown we have is this one here, which is called Dorian, and it's a rich chocolatey shade. The formula for this shade is called Luster Dorian. Oh, this is beautiful. That is stunning. When I was watching Lisa's video and she put the shade on her finger, I was like, oh my god, that looks stunning. Full of depth. And we've got White Tie, which is a luminous finish. So the luminous finish is kind of similar to Urban Decay, kind of the moon dust eyeshadows. I did put White Tie in the middle of my eyelid for one of my wear tests after the application of the liquid silk eyeshadows, and I can happily say White Tie stayed on all day. I don't know if that was because of liquid silk eyeshadow like acting as a really good primer, possibly, but honestly it didn't, like, it faded a little bit obviously, but it was definitely still there at the end of the day. And when I tested my liquid silk eyeshadows, I didn't wear any eyeshadow primer, it was just those eyeshadows by themselves. So White Tie. So White Tie kind of reminds me a little bit of Space Cowboy, but it's more cool tone because the base is a little bit of a more like a white base rather than a nude base. And then lastly, a duochrome shade. She does have one other duochrome shade in her eyeshadow palette, in a Sorcery palette, which was the one that sold out first. So this one is called Debutante, which is a satin duo and is a warm peach pink. Let's see if I can get it to look gold in the camera. Can you see the flip? It's gold to peachy pink. Very pretty. A very classic duochrome. This is stunning. This shade is so beautiful, and honestly I've been looking for this shade. Funnily enough, I was watching Selling Sunset and Chriselle was wearing this eye makeup look, and I'm pretty sure she had like a pink gold duochrome eyeshadow on. I was like, oh, that's so pretty. And then I was thinking, I want one. I want one shadow like that, and this is it. So many other people watch Selling Sunset. It's literally the only sort of trash TV that I watch. I don't watch Love Island, I don't watch Love is Blind. Selling Sunset is the only reality TV show I've ever watched and got addicted to. And let's do a little eyeshadow look. I usually do like a daytime look on one eye and then a nighttime look on the other eye. That's how I did her previous eyeshadow reviews, but today I've got a train to catch. I need to go out immediately after filming. I'm meeting people as well later, so I can't have two different looks on each eye. So I'm gonna start off with Upper West Side, which is the velvet shade, because this is kind of the lightest shade in the palette and I really just want to use it as a little wash. And Oh, the other thing I want to mention about the packaging as well is actually, look at that, right? The mirror stands up. How good is that? So let's get up and close. Personal. So my complaint is if you use a synthetic brush, they don't pick up very well. These velvet shades, it's just not coming off on my eyes that great. And if you look at the swatch with my finger, I mean, you can see much more pigment. I'm gonna try the brush I use with the liquid silk eyeshadows because they've got slightly harder bristles. So going with my Kitco brush, this is, I believe, still a synthetic brush, but the bristles are definitely a little bit harder and it does apply a little bit better. It has picked up more pigment. These eyeshadows, I think because they're sort of a creamy matte, right, kind of like the Natasha Denona creamy matte, they don't have fallout, but at the same time that makes them harder to pick up and then deposit on the eyelid. And then I'm gonna pick up Supernaturally in the middle now with the same brush and just darken my outer corner a little bit. Like I said, I've got places to go, so I can't do anything too makeup-y. If I was just meeting my friends, I don't care, but I'm kind of going to a work event, so seamless mattes pick up a little bit better than the velvet. Again, no fallout. This is depositing more pigment, but I still kind of stand with my original comment when I first reviewed her eyeshadow palettes. The mattes are beautifully creamy, beautifully smoothing, beautifully blurring, but not the easiest to pick up and apply. It will require you to dip in and out quite a few times. The two shades, you can definitely see a difference, which is good. Hate it when palettes have redundant shades. Blur out the edges a little bit. For some reason, this eye is always a little bit harder to blend. I'm really hoping I'm sitting close enough to my camera so that you guys can see. I'm gonna go with my finger into the Satin Duo. I feel like I'm basically doing what Lisa did in her video. That wasn't the intention, but I mean, with 6 shades, you're not gonna do very much else, are you? So this is just a light wash of the Satin Duo shade. Oh my god, it's so pretty. It is so pretty. Oh, I love it. I really do love it. I'm not gonna wear white tie because white tie is a very bright sparkly shade. Now I've got a little Real Techniques brush, just like a little small dense brush. I'm gonna pick up Supernaturally again and just put it on my lower lash line. Going back to Upper West Side. Okay, this is the EYESHADOW Smoky Liner, and I am going to pick up the shade Dorian. So it's not a matte, it's kind of like a satin. It's like a tiny bit of shine to it, but it's really very, very subtle. She does have another formula, which is proper metallic. So it's picking up okay. The luster shades are easier to pick up. The luster formula is easier to pick up, and you can see there's a little bit of fallout. That's just added a little bit of depth to my eyes. Can you tell the difference? A little bit just here of Dorian on the lower lash line. Okay, so this is the eyeshadow look with the new FAWN palette. It is a very beautiful neutral eyeshadow palette with 2 pops of color. So yeah, if you love these neutral eyeshadow palettes but just want something a little bit extra, go ahead. Or if you just want the pops of those shiny metallics and the duochrome, you should be able to buy them as an individual shade. The eyeshadow palette itself is £49. Not cheap for 6 shades. If you want to buy the individual shades, in the search bar of Lisa Eldridge website, just put in the shade. So the Satin Duochrome is called Debutante. If you put Debutante in, it will come up with that single shade. Each single shade is £11. The other thing that's worth noting is these liquid silk eyeshadows are £26 each, but the liquid Lurex, the old sparkly formula, is only £21 each. So I mean, different ingredient costs, inflation costs, so I'm guessing that's why the new liquid eyeshadows are more expensive. So if you really haven't tried the liquid Lurex formula, considering it's £21, it's £5 cheaper, give them a go. I actually really rate the formula. So, you know, 2 eyeshadow palettes were discontinued. There was Cinnabar and Myth. Cinnabar was the warm brown palette and Myth was the purpley palette. If you do have Cinnabar, let's put FAWN and Cinnabar side by side. and you can decide whether you need both. Okay, right, what do you think? This is Cinnabar, this is FAWN. So Cinnabar has a few more metallic shades, and I wonder if Lisa discontinued Cinnabar because she knew FAWN was coming out and the two were going to be similar. Potentially. Okay, much more cool toned. And then I will just swatch Dorian as well. Dorian, I keep saying Dorian like the fruit, but I mean Dorian, like Dorian Gray. Dorian, which again, it's quite different to the shades in Cinnabar. In terms of the other shades in Cinnabar, first of all, they are like a different finish, right? They're just straight up metallics, which is not going to be the same thing as the Satin Duo, and you can see that. Okay, so the shadow from Myth, this here, Illusionism, is a top coat shade, and I thought I'd just like compare that one with White Tie. It does have more of a pinky sparkle, for sure. So they are slightly different formulas. Sorry, these swatches are freaking terrible, but this is a discontinued shade from Myth, and it's more of a top coat. It's really just full of sparkle, whereas White Tie, because it's luminous, it's definitely got more payoff, just like the Luminous Duo from Sorcery. Okay, and now we have Vega compared with FAWN. So luckily you can still get Vega. Vega is a true grey toned, cool toned, neutral palette. And let's do some swatches here because I think they will be interesting. So again, I'm gonna swatch the mattes from here compared to the mattes over here, and then we'll compare the sparkle shades as well. Okay, at the bottom we've got the Vega palette, and at the top we've got the new FAWN palette. What do you think? I mean the lighter shade is definitely very, very different. You can see how that's definitely more of a grey and that's more of a beige. But then the middle shade, so the Supernaturally compared with Turbulence, can't quite put my finger on it because that almost looked warmer, right, compared to the FAWN palette. And this is meant to be the cool tone palette. But yeah, there is definitely a difference for sure. And then the Lamp Black versus Burnt Clove. So yeah, Burnt Clove is just not as black. It's more of like a really dark brown grey. That's interesting. Let's do the metallic shades. So back to the Vega palette. So we've got Supernova, which is the luminous, and then we've got Moon Swirl, which is the metallic. So Supernova and White Tie. So Supernova is here, White Tie is at the top. They are the exact same formula, luminous formula. They've got the exact same feeling. It's a little bit gritty and you can see all of the shimmers there, and definitely Supernova has more of a pink. But White Tie, it's called White Tie, so it looks more silver. And then the other Satin Duo obviously is not the same. But this is the difference between Vega and FAWN. What do you think? What do you think? And then lastly, we've got Muse. Compared with FAWN, I don't feel like I need to do shade by shade swatches because this is obviously pinkier and this is more of a brown. I might just swatch the metallics on my fingers. So we've got the middle shade, Tomorrow's Party, which is a metallic, and then Love in Venice, which is luminous, Taffeta Fan, which is a luster shade, and then I'll just put on my little finger Debutante. Can you see that? Debutante will fit right into the Muse palette for sure. So this is it. I mean, my opinions about the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow palette is very much the same as before. Like, I find the mattes a little bit difficult to build up in terms of intensity, but they are a very good formula in terms of how smoothing they are on the lids. And I think Lisa Eldridge probably has a older customer, right? She's not really targeting Gen Z. The mattes are nice, they're like smoothing, but they're not very pigmented. And it's the same thing with the shimmers, like they're really pretty, but they're all very subtle. So it's really for the person who is not looking for like a full glam makeup look. The eyeshadow gives off a very like Asian makeup type of vibe. So if that's what you like, then buy it. But if that's not what you want and you want the Pat McGrath shimmers, you want the Nessa Myricks shimmers, then don't spend your money. Just go for the liquid silk eyeshadows because I do actually think they are fantastic. But I mean, the liquid silk eyeshadows, they are also incredibly smoothing and blurring on your eyelid skin. I mean, my eyelids, I think they're just normal. They're not really oily, they're not really super dry, so I can't say, oh yeah, if you have oily lids they're going to be amazing, but from what Lisa has said herself, it does seem like it's going to work on all skin types and all ages. So did you purchase anything? What are you thinking now after my review? Did it change your mind? What did you think of the video? I'm so happy that I filmed. So yeah, this is it. I'm really just gonna end the video here because I have gotta go. I've gotta get ready, but I will edit this video on the train and hopefully get it up as soon as possible for you guys. All right, lovely people, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.